Hey everyone, before we get started, I just wanted to let you know that the new Victoria's Cantina merchandise line has just launched via Teespring. Be sure to check it out. There is a link down below, and have a look at all the latest t-shirts I have put together and the various accessories that are available celebrating the Victoria's Cantina brand. Hello Star Wars fans, and welcome back to another review here on Victoria's Cantina. Today we're having a look at the Bandai Spirits Tamashii Nations SH Figuarts Star Wars Kylo Ren and Rey and D.O. These are two of the latest SH Figuarts releases. These have been released to coincide with the theatrical release of Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, and I'm pretty excited to do a video on these. So this is a review by an adult collector intended for an adult audience. So, we will be taking a serious look at these, as we always do, through the lens of a longtime toy enthusiast and collector. So the packaging is the same as what we've seen before on these guys. I don't really want to dwell on it too long. If you've seen one of these sequel trilogy Figuarts figures, then you know what to expect. So Kylo comes with quite a few different accessories. It looks like there's a good little bit in his box. And yeah, like I said, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it. As always, there's an image on the side of the figure. And then in the back, you can see various poses as well as the different accessories in action. As for Rey, it's basically going to be the same exact sort of setup. You can see Rey and D.O. and, her accessories. And as well as, just the other things that make up this sort of packaging. It's actually a pretty cool image right there. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and get these out of the packaging. When we come back, we'll take a closer look at the figures, and we'll also compare them to The Last Jedi iterations that were released a couple years back that we did review previously. We'll see how they stack up with those figures. Here we have Rey, here we have Kylo Ren, and I'm liking what I'm seeing. There's quite a few accessories. When I was taking these out of the packaging, there's actually quite a bit to see. So let's go ahead and focus first on Kylo Ren. So right off the bat, there are some things I'm digging and there are some things that I am not quite digging. It looks good. I think that the drape of the hood and the cloak, which has a wire in it, is actually really nice. But I'm disappointed that the figure seems to mostly be reuse, or maybe the whole thing's reuse, essentially, from the Last Jedi figure. I had some concerns with that figure that I didn't really like. And unfortunately, those have not been addressed this time. And we'll talk about those as we move through the review. But, with the cloak on, it actually looks good. Those issues I have aren't really an issue with the cloak on the figure. Nope, it's not until you remove that cloak and start getting into the nitty gritty of what the plastic entails that those issues come to light. So I'll give you a close up here of the figure. And, like I said, there is a wire in this cloak and you can pose it. It's a very, it seems like a thick wire. It's not like one of those really flimsy wires that's hard to pose. This one actually has some pretty good heft to it. And it seems to hold its shape pretty well when you shape it out. There's a little bit of a thread right there. So that is pretty nice. Now, as far as how it's affixed to the figure, you will see that it actually kind of slips right underneath his neck joint. So we'll go ahead and pull this off and you can get a closer look at how that works right there. There's just a little hole right there that it kind of slides over the neck peg that's in there. So we'll go ahead and take his head and put it back on. And we'll take a close-up look at the figure. The helmet looks great. This is a new helmet. Previously, obviously, in The Last Jedi, he had a different, it was a little bit different. Didn't have, all the exploded look to it. So they did sculpt a new helmet for this figure, though it does look similar to the other one. However, oops, and I didn't push that in all the way, did I? Actually, I did. It's just, I guess it just sits a little high because of the cape, I guess. So you can put it in there. That is weird. That is weird. I don't remember the other figure being like that, but we'll see. We'll see in just a little bit. So the helmet looks good. Paint detail on it is pretty nice. It's nothing fancy. It's not metallic or anything, but it gets the job done. I think the red, would have looked nicer if it was a little bit brighter, but, it's not bad. The issue I have with the figure that I had with the previous figure is that this detail right here is super soft. There's really not a whole lot of dimension to it. And Hasbro did it a little bit better when they did their Kylo Ren. Basically all their Kylo Rens going back to 2015, so I find it kind of disappointing. This looks a little bit better down here than this does. That kind of bothers me a smidge. And, also the fact that, these blacks, these shades are a little bit different. So, and there's no like silver details here on his belt. So it's like, okay. He does have a little hole right there for the lightsaber hilt to plug into. And the legs look decent. Boots look decent. Again, not the most detailed looking. The detail is pretty soft overall, especially for a Figuarts figure. Like with their Jedi tunics, they do a really good job. I don't know why they didn't fix this. This would have been perfect opportunity because they're probably not going to do another Kylo Ren at this point. Or maybe they will. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't seen the movie yet. In terms of articulation, so yeah, like I was showing you, you do get this weird movement here at the neck. It actually gives you some pretty decent movement. So it's kind of hard to complain about it. It just looks kind of weird. But I suppose if you have the cape on there, it's not going to look quite as bad. Independent of that, the neck does move on a separate hinge. So we have another ball pin under there that gives you some decent movement. Butterfly joints here at the shoulders. Insert molded connections there at the shoulders as well. And you can rotate the arm in circles. You can bend both of the elbows. Actually, this is pretty cool. He does get a double bend here at the elbow. It's a little hard to move. And it doesn't even seem like it gets like a full range, but let's try this one. Like this one. Yeah, there is definitely like a double bend in there. And I mean, this is totally sufficient. But you don't get a full range of movement in here. It's not necessary. Like I said, look at that movement. That's pretty awesome. So I can't really hold that against the figure. Here at the wrists, he does have ball pins. And then here at the torso, you'd have a ball joint. You can move it around. Here at the hips, you do have those classic Figuarts drop-down joints. They go out. You can move them forward. You can twist them. Here at the knees, you do have a very nice bend right there. Here at the ankle, it does have a bend. You can rotate it. You can pivot it. And then you can bend the toes as well. So overall, it is a pretty nicely articulated figure. In terms of the interchangeable hands, you actually get 5 pairs of hands, so pretty great. First of all, you have the clenched fists that you have out of the packaging. You do have your lightsaber gripping hands as well. You get your Kylo approves hands too, so he's giving you the thumbs up. He's got his more relaxed but still kind of grippy hands. And then he's got his completely outstretched fingers, kind of like he has in the packaging on some of the Star Wars merchandise for Rise of Skywalker. All right, so the figure does come with an interchangeable head. Here we have the unmasked Kylo head. It actually looks pretty good. The last one looked good as well. I'm not sure which one looks better. We'll compare them and then have a better idea. This one looks a bit to me like the Force Awakens Kylo Ren. They did the unmasked version, which was a web exclusive. I never did get that one because it was a web exclusive and I missed out on it, and it was very expensive after that. So it wasn't really necessary to me though, given these newer figures that they've done. But this looks pretty good. It looks pretty realistic. The eye paint looks very nice. The lips look good. Good texturing on the skin. The scar looks very nice as well. His hair looks very simple, but it is, kind of, glossy black. But yeah, it's looking pretty decent. You can see here that it's connected at the bottom to the neck piece, which is also posable. It's got a ball pin on there as well. So in order to swap these out, you're basically just going to pull up on the head, and we're going to take our unmasked head and just replace it. It looks kind of good. I feel like there we go. That looks a little better. His shoulders looked a little bit, too like saggy. This looks a little bit better posture for sure. And that's really not too bad. This is basically, he's kind of like, what? Yeah, it's not too bad. It looks pretty good without, the helmet. I actually probably like this a little bit better just based on what I'm seeing here. Now, as far as how it works with the cape, let's see if we can do that. I'll go ahead and put the cape right there over the head socket. And okay, I can already tell this is going to be pretty tricky to accomplish. All right, so it does seem to work, but as I demonstrated, it is very difficult and a little bit too stressful in order to get that head on there with the cloak on. It just doesn't, I don't even know if it's completely on right now. Yeah, it seems to be okay. But yeah, more trouble than it's really worth. So I don't think I would really be doing that, even though we do see him like in the trailers and stuff with his hood down, but wearing the cape with the unmasked head. So it would be nice if it were a little bit easier to do that. And even then it doesn't really look that great because you can see how, the hood is really like jutting out like that back there. So It looks good with the helmet on, not with the helmet off. That could have been engineered a little bit better. So we do get 2 lightsaber hilts. These are both unignited lightsabers. One of them has the peg there, as you can see. The other one does not. They look pretty good. They look a little bit metallic-y. Detail on them is pretty good. And to get it in here, you're basically just going to peg it in like that. It goes in without a fuss, so I am happy about that at least. We also get the ignited lightsaber blade. This seems to be the same lightsaber, and probably the hilts are too, that were released with the Last Jedi figure, and probably with the Force Awakens ones as well. So yeah, it's a nice deep red blade. The hilt looks pretty good. I still prefer the Mafex blade that they did with their Force Awakens Kylo Ren. It looks a lot more erratic. It looks a lot cooler. But this is okay too. And he does hold it fine as well. One of the cool things about this figure is that the fingers are pretty pliable. So when you're sliding the hilt into his hand, it actually goes in pretty easily. Like you can kind of see them moving around a little bit right there. So no problems getting it into his hand like that. All right, and here are both of my Figuarts Kylo Rens. On the left, The Rise of Skywalker. On the right, The Last Jedi. Okay, so one thing I do like, I did mention that there's mostly reuse here between the 2 figures. The bodies are essentially the same exact thing. I do like the color a little bit better on the Rise of Skywalker version. You can see it's a little bit darker. It's a little bit more black. Just a little bit richer in color. It always bothered me how this one was kind of pale looking. For his costume. It just looks kind of washed out. The detail is still very soft on both of them. Like I said, it's the same figure. So that is still a problem, but this one is a little bit better just given how darker the costume looks. In terms of the likenesses, this is probably another one where I will have to let you guys decide. I mean, I don't know. I feel like this one looks a little more like Adam Driver, maybe? I don't know. They look... Yeah, like this one looks a little bit more to me like Adam Driver, I would say. But this one looks a little bit, maybe a little more older. His face looks a little broader. Yeah, and the hair is a little bit different. It's obviously kind of like slicked back. Looks a little more like Force Awakens-ish than this one. This one looks more like Last Jedi. The hairs, like if you look at them, they're actually very similar sculpts. Like the hair, they didn't really change up too much. Like you can see those hairs that kind of go in that shape. They're the same. Like they didn't really do a whole lot. They're obviously different sculpts, but they kind of based this one, it seems, off of this one right here. So that is interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I think I like the Last Jedi version a little bit better as far as the heads go, but this is a little bit more colorful. It looks okay as well. His eyes also look a little bit more goldish. I don't know why that is. And his lips are a little bit more pinkish. And the scars look about the same on both figures. Here's a comparison of the Figuarts Kylo Ren along with the Black Series Kylo Ren, both from The Rise of Skywalker. I like how the texture of the cloak or the cape it is a little bit more richer on this Black Series one. Like they really captured like the look of the leather or whatever, kind of material it is. Whereas on this other one, it's just basically like a soft goods, like straight up soft goods, like cape with wires in it. I think this looks good, but there's really no detail in the cape. This one, with this really bulky looking hood looks pretty good like that. But I think the hood sits a little bit better. Maybe on this one, it's again, it's hard to say. Like this looks good. This looks good too, though. Yeah, I don't know which one looks more film accurate or what, but I can say that this looks good. This looks good too. And here's what I was saying earlier about, just the richness of the sculpted detail. Like this looks a lot better than this does. This is just really soft. And yeah, it's a shame that they didn't take this opportunity. Like either company, really. Hasbro could have done a much better body. So could Bandai on this release. They both should have been better figures. But instead, we're left with a lot of reuse, partly because, the costume is mostly unchanged from the previous films, which is understandable, but it's just too bad that, these companies couldn't step it up a little bit. And, it's the last film in the Skywalker saga. They should have upped their game just a little bit. All right, now here is Rey, and Rey is looking very good. A very proportionate looking figure. I really like her physique. The stance that she's in, like right now with her arms, she looks like she's ready for action. From the side, she also looks really nice. I kind of don't really love how her hoodie is, kind of sticking out quite a bit. But from the back, it looks good. Just the way the whole thing's sculpted and the colors. I like it. I think it's a pretty attractive looking outfit. On the whole, though, it is a good looking figure on first glance, on first impression. So let's go and take a close up look here at her head sculpt. This is actually a really nice, I think that looks really nice. It looks quite a bit like Daisy Ridley. I think it does depend on the angles that you have it at. Like from the side, that actually looks pretty decent. The hair looks a little funny at the hairline, though. I feel like it's a little bit too like smushed down. Like I feel like maybe it should kind of stick up a little bit more. Like I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, something about the hairline seems a little bit off to me. I just think that it's a little bit too like compressed. Like it doesn't really feel like there's a whole lot of volume right here, I guess is what I mean. And there should maybe be a little more volume there. But the Rey likeness is actually pretty good. From this angle, it's not bad. From this angle, it's okay. It really seems like it depends on the angle that you have it at. Like it looks pretty good though. And we'll compare it with the previous Figuarts Rey and also the Black Series one in just a bit. But yeah, on the whole, I think it's a pretty good likeness. It is painted very nicely. Eyes look nice and straight. Eyebrows, lips. There's a nice sheen to her skin, and the skin tone. It looks pretty natural. I think they did a good job with that. The hair is a little bit simplistic. They did kind of change up the hairstyle a little bit from Force Awakens. It is slightly different, but it has the overall same look that it had in that film. And yeah, it's not bad overall. You do have like these little pieces of hair that kind of hang down on the sides of her ears. Her ears look a little bit big. I guess that's accurate. I don't know. I don't know. Does the right ear look slightly different than the left? Maybe. I don't know. The rest of the costume, though, like I said, I like it. I think, it may be a little soft. It may be a little bit devoid of washes or, details that could kind of highlight and accent some of the sculpted detail, but it's not bad. It looks pretty good overall. I do feel like it looks like a Hasbro figure a little bit, like particularly here in the belt area and right here where you have the silver buckle. Like to me, that just looks very Hasbro-ish. Like I feel like they could have given it a little bit more detail, sculpted a little bit of texture in there, just kind of differentiated a bit from Hasbro. But it seems like Figuarts in general has become kind of complacent over the past couple of years compared to how they used to be before when they were leaps and bounds beyond Hasbro. But maybe that says more about Hasbro, really like stepping up their game. But like this right here, like that should have been a little bit better detail. Like that just looks really soft to me. This too. It's okay, but look, they didn't paint like usually Figuarts is good about painting those little, knobs and buttons and stuff, and they didn't do that here. The legs look pretty good. The legs down here, calves, her boots look nice. I don't know if that's supposed to be painted like that white color. Like, is that? It's obviously, I don't know. I guess it's part of her costume. I'll have to go back and double check that. But yeah, so let's talk articulation. Here at the head, you have a ball joint here at the bottom of the neck. So there's like a pin in there that connects that. Here at the top of the head, you also have the same sort of ball pin joint. So side to side, down, up, you can kind of cock it a little bit like that. Now, this is very weird construction. You can see that the neck is starting to lift off the body. There's a reason for that. Let me see if I can get through articulation without it becoming too much of a problem. And then I'll tell you why that is. But she does have the butterfly joints here at the shoulders. She does have ball hinges that allow her to get some pretty nice movement. Nice bend here at the elbow. That's a really good bend. You can also rotate both of her elbows, which is pretty new because Figuarts doesn't traditionally do that. So yeah, that is pretty awesome. She does have ball pins at the wrists and here at the torso. You do get a ball joint in there. There's really not that much movement. It's kind of unfortunate. Like it goes down a bit, but not really back. It doesn't really go side to side. It's kind of annoying. Yeah, that should have had more movement. You do get those drop downs here at the hips. They do go out, though there is quite a bit of restriction because of her costume. They do kick forward. You can rotate them. You can bend both of the knees, and she gets about a 90-degree bend. Here at the ankles, they go down, up. You can rotate them side to side, and they do pivot back and forth. And she also has she's going to break her toes doing that. But yeah, she can move them quite a bit, very flexible. Overall, the articulation isn't bad. It is a little bit annoying how this becomes a problem. And it also is quite annoying how there isn't better articulation here in the waist. And that, because of this problem here in the neck area, that, you do kind of sacrifice some of the movement, it seems like to me, here in the head. So the reason that this is like that, all right, so this hoodie part right here, this is weird. So you pull off her head, and this is like this. So you have her hood. It's like basically in the down position like that. And this is what basically slides over. You see the little ball pin right there? That slides over like that. You push it in, and then you're supposed to put the head back in like that. So that's why she has a really long brontosaurus neck, like that. So it's okay, I guess, but I don't really like it because when you start posing it, it starts moving it around, and I find that to be highly irritating. It's like sand or something. So the other piece that we have here, since we're talking about it already, is the hoodie up piece right there. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and grab her head and slide it in here. Now, Princess Leia, if you guys remember, the Figuarts Princess Leia had a similar sort of construction, but it didn't have like a flesh tone bit to it. It was just like the color of her white dress, right? So that was a bit different. And I found that was a lot easier to work with. And it looked a lot more natural. Like, this looks okay if you get it like dialed in right, but if you don't, it doesn't necessarily look like that great. So, all right, let's see if we can get this in there. Like I said, this is, really weird engineering. I'm not a huge fan of it. Yeah, that's just awful. I'm not doing it right. No, I'm doing it right based on the directions. That little tab basically is supposed to go in there. And then this is supposed to go in there. But because the neck is in there, it's kind of preventing this part from like completely seating inside. So yeah, I even tried it with the hood first and then putting the neck in. It's the same thing. Like, this is just like, if you look at the directions, it's basically, you just swap them out, then you put the head in, right? And then once you get past the incorrect grammar here where it says warning may rub off, you realize that they're referring to the paint. And it's like, okay, well, come on guys, why not just engineer it so that it doesn't rub off, or engineer it, in a way that doesn't cause this. This could have easily been avoided if they had just, done this as part of the torso and then had the separate head, just like they did with the Last Jedi figure. And then, just a separate hoodie to plug over that neck. I don't really understand why this had to be this complicated. I can kind of see why. This is obviously a different color from her neck. So, but sometimes you kind of got to make a sacrifice here or there in order to get this to function. As an adult collector, this isn't the kind of thing I really want to spend my time like doing, fighting with the figure in order to get it to look natural. That it should work right out of the packaging, and this doesn't really work. So like Kylo, Rey also comes with 5 sets of hands. Out of the packaging, she does come with her clenched fist hands. Rey's also got her lightsaber gripping hands. That way she can grab onto the lightsabers that she comes with. Like Kylo, she also comes with 2 thumbs up hands. She's got 2 pointy finger hands. I guess you can probably wedge the lightsabers in here. And then she has both of her relaxed hands that she comes with. So Rey does come with the blaster that Han Solo gave her, and it looks decent enough. Basically, it looks like the one that came with the previous figure. And it just slides into her holster, just like that. So you'll see it pop through like that. And yeah, it's a good fit, doesn't come out. Now you do notice that the holster actually does peg in right there. So you can push it in, but I guess to help facilitate movement, they also made it so that you can unpeg it. So that is an interesting design decision. I kind of like that. We also get Rey's staff because, of course, she's always got her staff, right? And it looks good. It's got a very nice sculpt to it. It is actually very nicely done. Like I was talking earlier about how some of her costume isn't nicely, as nicely done as it could have been. This is actually really nicely designed, really nicely textured. The paint on it is quite exquisite, even looking here at the detail here. I think this is the same one that the Last Jedi figure came with. So she does come with an unignited lightsaber hilt. They did redesign it for The Rise of Skywalker after what happened to it in The Last Jedi. So it looks good, and there is a little peg in there. And that is so that you can slide it right there into the side of her belt. And as you can see, it stays quite nicely. There aren't any issues with it coming out. You also get the ignited lightsaber blade. So this is actually pretty cool. It seems a little bit heftier than the previous Rey lightsaber was. Like the blade is a little bit thicker, and it's a really nice, shade of like medium blue. And yeah, that hilt detail is still really nice. Yeah. So you can put it into her more open, like thumbs up hand if you want to. And it just kind of goes in there like this. It's not the best like hold because she does kind of drop it. But if you want it to not go anywhere, you would need to get this hand right here in order for it to go in. So it does separate into two halves like that. And then from there, you can just peg in the bottom part of the hilt. Again, once you align it properly. And finally, Rey comes with DO. And it's kind of similar to the one in the Black Series line, but not really. Like, to me, this one actually looks better in terms of the detail that's been sculpted on it. It looks pretty nice. The creases are nice and pretty strong looking. And the top part right here, the neck, you can move that and you can bend it down up. So it does seem to be on a ball joint. It does kind of tilt a little bit too. But the wheel does not. Oh yeah, it does spin. I was going to say the wheel doesn't spin. It does spin. So that is pretty cool. There is also a little base included. You can see it's a little clear base. So you would just set it down and you would place DO on top of it like that. So that is pretty cool. I think the engineering on this is pretty nice. On the Black Series one, you could move like these little things back here. This one doesn't do that. So it's fine. And I definitely like this base better than the one in the Black Series figure because that one is really difficult to keep propped up right. In fact, let's go ahead and do our comparison with the Black Series version. So you can see the Black Series one is actually quite a bit bigger than the Figuarts version. So what I was saying about like sculpted detail, it looks a little bit better to me on this one here. Like actually I should probably turn it the other way so you can see the other side because that little arm or whatever you want to call it's right there. Yeah, it looks a little bit better. Like the paint, like the weathering that they applied to this one just looks a little bit too like they just painted it and didn't really detail it. So that is noticeable to me, but also just kind of like the overall like look of it. And I hate that little stand because I can never get it to stay up for very long. Here, I'll just do this. You can just kind of see like the craftsmanship on the Figuarts one just looks a little bit better overall. And, they painted the antennas, little bits of them silver. Yeah, they're posable on this one, but not on this one. So that's a little frustrating. Like, well, is it frustrating? Not really. It honestly doesn't really matter to me. Like, I'm perfectly okay with not being able to move those. Like, just have it like this. Or if that's, I don't know if that's backwards. Maybe it's supposed to be like that. I'm not sure. But in any case, yeah, I like that one better. All right, so here's a comparison of the SH Figuarts Rey along with the Black Series Rey, both from The Rise of Skywalker. They look to be the same height. In terms of the overall detail, though, in terms of the likeness, yeah, I don't know. I mean, neither of them look perfect by any means. Like, I even feel like the Island Journey Black Series Rey look better than this one does in terms of the likeness. I mean, they're both good. Neither of them are great. It depends on the angle, though. I don't know. Maybe the Figuarts? I don't know. You guys will have to let me know what you think because I really couldn't say. As far as the rest of the costume goes, I do like how there's a little bit of differentiation here with these tabards to her shirt. Like the tabards are a little bit more white. On the Figuarts, they're a little bit different too, but it's not quite as noticeable. And I don't know, just overall they're pretty good. I feel like this works better in terms of that hood, even though it doesn't lift up. It's certainly less annoying than having this problem here where this piece keeps coming up when you move the arms around. So engineering wise, I mean, I guess this works better, but her arm articulation is awesome on the Figuarts. Her waist articulation is awesome on the Black Series. So there's definitely trade-offs here. Overall, gosh, it's really hard to say. In terms of value, definitely Black Series, but if you like the little extras that Figuarts does, which there's not a ton of them here, this one is nice too. The Black Series also has a backpack. Why doesn't the Figuarts have a backpack? I don't know, but I guess it's not really that important. All right, so here is the Rise of Skywalker Rey with the Last Jedi Rey, both Figuarts. Yeah, they're different. I mean, obviously there's similarities in both of the costumes, but the color palettes are quite different, and the figures are quite different. Though the likenesses, I would say, are actually fairly similar. Like they both look like Figuarts, like Rey figures, don't they? I feel like the head on this one maybe looks a little more like Daisy Ridley. I think like just the sculpt of it, the shape of it, probably. But this one still is pretty good. But yeah, this one might be just a smidge better. As far as like overall quality that goes, like they seem to be pretty comparable. I feel like this one looks a little bit more detailed in terms of the costume though. Like not just because of the colors, like there's actually a little bit more like visual like interest. Even the hair looks a little bit more detailed, I suppose, than this one does, slightly. But yeah, other than that, pretty similar. But again, this one has rotating elbows. This one does not. So maybe this one. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so there you have it. These are the Bandai Spirits, Tamashii Nations, SH Figuarts, Kylo Ren, and Rey from Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. Overall, you guys, they're really a mixed bag for me. I mean, the Kylo figure, if you have the Last Jedi version, really the only new thing you're getting is the cape. I mean, the helmet, yeah, it looks a little bit different because it's a little different in this movie, but I mean, it's really the cloak that you are getting with this release that you don't get with the previous version, which was a huge oversight, I think. With Rey, she's a nice figure. I really like her articulation, except for the waist. But that neck joint, her upper chest with the hoodie and all that, that's just really complicated. I don't think the figure needed to be that complicated. Figuarts does this sometimes where they think they're being innovative and their engineering is a little bit more complex than I think it really needs to be. It's not practical at all. And I just want my figures to be able to work. I don't find that what they did with Rey works too well with getting the hood up and hood down. It just doesn't look good when you move the arms around. That upper piece kind of tries to pop out of place and it just doesn't work. I can't even get the hood up to look natural whatsoever, so that really frustrates me. Now, the accessories with both figures are great. I do like the cloak that Kylo comes with quite a bit. I find it to be quite functional. And then Rey also has DO, so that is really cool. Plenty of interchangeable hands. They're a little frustrating to get in and off, as is usually the case with these figures. And the lightsabers are nice. Overall, these aren't bad, but given what you're paying for these Figuarts figures, which, if you're like me importing them from Japan, you're going to be paying around $50 per figure. Black Series is a much better value in this case, but I feel like if you want a more premium figure, these definitely feel a little bit more premium. They're just not as good as they should have been. And I find that a little disappointing because I was really excited to get these and I thought they were going to be, both pretty awesome, especially Rey. I knew Kylo was mostly reused based on the photos that I saw, but Rey I thought was going to be pretty exceptional, and she's not. But yeah, I guess I'm glad to have them in my collection. I mean, it's Kylo Ren and it's Rey, and they're from the latest Star Wars films, so, I guess that's what I'm getting out of that, if nothing else. All right, my friends, I hope that you've enjoyed this review. Please let me know your thoughts down below. Will you be picking these figures up? What are your thoughts on their features and their accessories? Let me know. Be sure you're tuning into the Cantina Chatter podcast wherever you're listening to podcasts. And as always, I'd like to thank you for tuning in to Victoria's Cantina. Until next time, bye-bye.